come to think of it, everyone loves music in some degree. To some extent, everyone loves music, especially me. I, for one, I just love music. Okay, I react to Christian albums as soon as like the second it comes out, I'm reacting to that album, and I've been pretty much been up to date with this since Toby Mac's latest album. And you know what? I thought it would be a bit of a cool idea to do a little series where we start doing some album reviews. And today we're gonna start that. We're gonna do our very first album review. I'm not gonna now I might react to some songs, like some brand new NF stuff when that comes out, whenever Skillet drops something. I don't know, that's a later problem, but for now we're gonna do some album reviews, starting off with Skillet's very first self-titled record. Skillet is by far my favorite band. It's not even close. I've never really gotten into a band, more specifically, let alone a Christian rock/metal band. And these guys have been making music since the 90s, starting with this very record, the self-titled record, coming out on October 29th of 1996. I can tell you one thing for certain. That this album right here sounds nothing like the Skillet you hear today. And was really like that for the first 4 albums, all the way up until Alien Youth, which was their 4th record. Then when they got to Collide, that's when people started to really notice Skillet. That's when their sound really started to change. But we're not doing Collide. We're doing the self-titled record because it came out first. Now, in terms of like the track listing and, stuff like that, this does tend to be one of their shorter albums. An average Skillet album has 12 songs, and then a deluxe version comes out. This album only has 10, but quality over quantity here. The album with the most songs isn't going to be up here. No, that's not what matters. And here's something cool about this record. When a band's been around for 30 years, obviously some of the members are going to be changed over time. Well, John Cooper, the lead singer, has been on this record and has pretty much been a part of Skillet ever since it started. Yeah, he was in the band since the very beginning, ever since this very first album. His wife Corey didn't show up until that album after, Hey You, I Love Your Soul. That's when she has been a part of Skillet, and she's been a part ever since. I will admit, though, some of the singing is, I wouldn't say it's weird, but it's definitely not normal. And the album cover quite literally speaks about the band. It is a Skillet. It says Skillet right there. It is their self-titled record. And that's real. That's it. It's just nothing too much going on there. Just a Skillet, which is exactly who the band is. And that's not even really their logo either. You can call it their fine print or whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure. But the actual Skillet logo didn't really come around until their Comatose album cover since 2006. For their first 4 albums, nobody knew who Skillet was until they got to Collide, and then Comatose, and then Awake, and then, they've just been getting a bigger fan base ever since. But that doesn't mean that their earlier music from all the way since the 90s and early 2000s, that doesn't mean that music was bad. It just wasn't getting attention at the time. And now that people know the band, they might go back to their older stuff, which is exactly what I did. And I think it still sounds great for what it is. Like I said, the album's only got 10 songs. The track listing's right here. I think there are definitely a lot of like key changes in the songs. Like some of the chords in the songs, like in songs like Boundaries, the chords are definitely not what you hear in your average type of song. That's probably because everyone was stealing everyone else's chords and this and that. So, yeah, probably chords that don't really fit too well together, but actually do sound kind of nice. And then you have songs like Paint that the verses are in D minor, the chorus is in B minor, and it actually fits pretty well for itself, actually. It's not too often that they do that type of stuff, especially now. But, with albums like the self-titled record and even the albums to come after, there have been some unordinary things like that you notice throughout this album. It's not too, it's not really normal for me to come back to their older albums, especially their very first album, and just re-listen to the songs just because I feel like it. But that's not calling it a bad album. That's just saying they have better stuff in their catalog, newer songs that everyone's really listening to now. It's because that's how they got into them, was for pretty much everything from Comatose onward. But when you do come back to the album and listen, I do think it is worth listening because there are some great songs on here. And I'm going to tell you which ones they are because I'm going to change the track list to what I prefer to be the best up here and the worst down here. So basically, I'm ranking the album right here like that. The worst track on this album is definitely Splinter, and it's not really that close. That's probably the least memorable song for me when I listened to it for the first time. It's not bad. It's not really. I wouldn't hardly call a song bad, and this one isn't bad, but it's not like super memorable to me. Hence why it's at the bottom of the list. And you've got songs like Promise Blender that just sounds like something they made completely, just totally on the spot. Last song they had to make for the album. It might not have ended up in that situation, but that's just what songs like that feel like to me. But this album's definitely got some highlights. It's got I Can, the first track. I think that one's pretty underrated. So is My Beautiful Robe. That one's probably my favorite off the record. There are some albums where like one particular song carries the whole album for me. This doesn't really do that, but honestly that might be a good thing because there are a solid amount of, there's like a handful of songs that I think are really good and I would just listen to them just on the occasion. I Can, My Beautiful Robe, as well as Boundaries and Gasoline and Paint. I think those ones are like the highlights of the whole album, really. There's no song on here that's bad, okay? I think I've already said that. Even though Splinter is the bottom spot, it's not bad. It's just the least memorable for me. And then, like, the two songs I haven't mentioned on here, Safe With You and You Thought, they're good songs. They're not, like, they're definitely not everyday listeners, but I think they do, like, at least get the job done for what type of songs they are. I cannot get my words out today. So how I'm going to grade the album, I don't know if I've said this before, but I am going to grade this album. I'm going to take all the songs off this album, give them a rating from 1 to 10, and then just find the average, and that's the rating for the album. Hopefully you remember the track listing, because here is all the ratings for each track. I'm not putting the titles in there because I'm going to be lazy, and that's just how it's going to go. But basically, I'm going to take all of this, I'm going to divide it by, 10? Because there's 10 tracks. I forget how to do math, but I'm going to give this album a 6.4 out of 10. And nowadays people say that like a 6 is like bad. I think a 6 is a pretty solid rating, especially for a Christian metal rock band-ish first album, very first studio album. I like it. I liked it when I first listened to it. I still like it now. I think a 6.4 is a fair rating, especially considering once we get to all the other Skillet albums. Like, just wait until we get to like Unleashed and Victorious and all those albums. Once we get there, the numbers are going to go up. I can tell you that, to say the least. And I'm just going to say this right now. I'm not going to be grading just Skillet albums. I'll go even farther beyond that, especially in like just like maybe not the mainstream stuff, but at least all the Christian albums. I know that today Pat Barrett releases a new album. We've had a lot of album releases for Christian artists. Zach Williams dropped one like a few weeks ago. I know Ann Wilson's dropping an album very soon. We had Josiah Queen drop an album. Forrest Frank dropped an album. A lot of artists are dropping stuff, so I'm doing my best to stay up to date with all that. But I'm starting with Skillet because I already know the band, and I'm done talking. We're gonna rank the albums too. We're gonna put all the albums in a bit of a ranking list, and since it's the only album that we've graded so far, this album gets first place. Shocker.